forgot to do that. Brilliant. Welcome everybody to the anniversary show of sorts. We're not exactly on the anniversary like we were last year, but you know, May is the anniversary month, so it's close enough. Yes, it's me. Yes, it's AJ. Yes, it's Owen. We be talking. Women may not be talking in this one. I don't know.
In chat.
We'll have to get clarification from Mark Wahlberg. And chat is talking. Cold as hell open. But you know, that's what happens when it's going to be supposed to be like the old school style hangouts from back in the day.
Yeah, the cold open is the exact opposite of my computer, which is on fire right now. So I wonder how long it's gonna last.
Get get the
we
air duster in.
We have friends that is around now too. So there's two.
I think we discovered this our last live where Discord sets my computer on fire. So
it's fine.
Like I'm a little worried you can hear it because it's.
No, I can't hear anything.
Good.
So yeah, kind of an interesting year. Over the 10th anniversary year, I'd say, you know, we've had a fair bit of content, and then just a change in stuff, just to basically not have ourselves overburdened with a lot of stuff, and so you get better quality content, at least in theory. Yeah, and in terms of these live things, we don't know what we're doing yet, just about with these, whether they'll be on a monthly basis or whether they'll be every few months. You know, Owen will let you know on the socials. That's all you need to keep an eye on.
I will.
But yeah, I mean, trying to think if there's anything what we can talk about that isn't your questions in the comments. I guess it was a shame to see today that Bernard Hill passed away, who Americans will pretty much only know for being in $2 billion films. But most people will know over here for him just saying "give us a job" a lot of the time in a Liverpudlian accent.
Yeah, I guess sometimes you question what the headline picks, but when I saw Titanic and Lord of the Rings actor, I was like, "Yep, that's about right."
Which, as I say, it's a shame. You know, back in the days when he was doing Boys from the Black stuff in the 80s, the BBC drama, all people associate with him was him saying "give us a job," or about
it reminds me
a nice steak on a Saturday night. His character, at least.
It reminds me of when John Hurd died, and they asked Daniel Stern about it, because when John Hurd died, it said Home Alone actor John Hurd. And Daniel Stern and him like came up in like the same sort of theater area, and that's how I guess he was like a legend on the stage. So even though Daniel Stern is in Home Alone, he had said that he forgot John Hurd was even in Home Alone, and that headline really confused him. And it's like, yeah, I think most people do remember him from Home Alone.
Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. In all honesty. So yeah, we'll go to some of the stuff in the comments. Starting off with Spencer saying happy 11th. Our favourite movie from 2013. I want to say, I vaguely think we did something like this last year, but I can't think off the top of my head.
We did, but I gotta remember what the answer was. Because I'm looking through the IMDb list of 2013 movies, and I see the answer, but I'm trying to see if there's another one.
Mine is still The Iceman. I'm trying to remember what my number 2 was. Was it The Wolf of Wall Street? Maybe.
I think we're head to head on that one. Yeah, it would have been the same for me as well because I remember we had a long discourse about the Iceman on this channel.
The eyes are right beside me, so I'm always its spine sticks out so much. It's such thick writing, but it's always visible.
2013 was a great year for movies, though.
Was it?
There's a lot of good stuff on this list. So when The Conjuring came out, Philomena, Nebraska, Dallas Buyers Club.
Gravity, Rush, and Prisoners all came out around the same time. I remember that.
Pacific Rim.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's better than I remembered, I guess.
Yeah, I was looking at the UK releases, and the two contenders I would put technically came out the same week, at least from what I can tell. In that they probably did a Wednesday earlier release opening for Gravity, and then 48 hours later, if you got to the right cinema at least, you could then also see 12 Years a Slave.
Oh yeah.
What a hell of a weekend that is.
There was like Blue Jasmine.
And that was the same month as the Alan Partridge film and Under the Skin. Glazer's underrated thing. Invisible Woman, which I've actually grown to appreciate more sort of over the time. Rafe's Dickens film. And of course, Philomena as well was also that same. I think that was a Bank Holiday Monday opening, possibly in August. I'm not sure, but and then literally only a few days after that was Rush as well. So
Inside Llewyn Davis, her.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was when we went to that art house theater at the peak of award season.
Yes.
And I'm trying to remember what it was. We saw Inside Llewyn Davis, Nebraska, Dallas Buyers Club, and Philomena all around the same time at that theater. I was trying to remember how they were paired, but I can't remember. And all the showings for all 4 of those were packed, which is the amazing thing about art house theaters. Inside Llewyn Davis, I think, was the most packed I'd seen that theater until we saw that advanced screening of Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Which meant that it got the body heat made it almost unbearable because that's a small auditorium. But
I've never had something so cramped in a movie theater experience before that they literally had to bring chairs in so people could sit down. I've never had that. Steve Jobs, and not since.
But I say that, but at the same time, being in a full cramped theater while everyone is howling during "Please, Mr. Kennedy," is an experience I would never.
Absolutely.
I would never trade that. Goodman got some big laughs too, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
What is it like? If you're gonna jump off a bridge, you jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. Who jumps off the George Washington Bridge? Nobody does that.
And that theater was great for a lot of reasons, but one of the other things was like when we went to see The Godfather, and there were times in that movie I could hear a pin drop. Same with The Exorcist.
Yeah, and the thing about The Godfather and The Exorcist is they were in the big auditorium.
Yep, the college
that wasn't the cramped. Yeah, that wasn't the cramped auditorium, and it was still I remember your confusion because apparently the toll booth is the climax of the Godfather video game or something.
That is a correct statement.
So you were confused. You were confused when Sonny dies, and you're like, "How is there an hour left? Aren't we leaving?"
Take it home. Video game is not going anywhere.
God forbid if Owen actually got to play the second one, where it totally ignores anything that happened in the other ones. sort of became
I
its own. Well, I guess it was somewhat based on part two, but it was still not part two.
there was that one, and then there was the not Guy Ritchie movie that was a video game that also had like a UK subtext. I don't remember the title of it off the top of my head, but I remember playing that a lot too.
Oh, I'm trying to think of that now.
Same concept. It was a shooter like a GTA style, but more for like themed and storyline. After playing that on
Oh, there was the Getaway,
yeah, the Getaway. Yeah, exactly.
but that was nothing to do with Guy Ritchie. I think it was
It
supposed to
just
be in
felt
that.
like a Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, it was.
thing.
It was. Some of the characters were very lock, stock, snatch, rock
Yes.
and roller esque. So I guess that sort of makes sense. Um, but yeah, Josie says happy anniversary. Favorite Studio Ghibli film? Ooh,
Mine's always been Kiki's Delivery Service.
I don't think I have this.
And then
I
Totoro maybe being that.
Because I've only seen technically 3.
That's it?
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now. I've only seen 3 of them. Like they were like, for example, I brought this up. I think to you the other day, AJ. If not, it's because it's in my head right now. We had to do one of those get to know you gimmicks at work recently, and they asked me what my favorite, because we have a DreamWorks Land opening in a couple of months, and needless to say, I had to come up with my favorite DreamWorks movie, and because it's me, obviously, Shrek 2 jumps out because reasons that everyone knows. But the thing about it is, when I looked at the list of all the DreamWorks movies, the one I went with was The Bad Guys, and I was very happy with saying that. Even though
you got a little.
I don't care.
That's you got a little irate when I said, "Are you sure that's not because it's so recent?"
No. So I only have 3 Studio Ghibli movies that I've seen, and none of them are like the classics.
As I've also mentioned in the past, I've probably got a bit of a bias towards The Wind Rises, but I would say Kiki's Delivery Service and Totoro are the top 2 if I had to guess.
Well, every year there's like a Studio Ghibli marathon at AMC that I seem to see, and honestly, I always miss out on them because they never mash up with the days I need to go. But like seeing Howl's Moving Castle or Princess Mononoke, I mean, these are things I've needed to see for a long time, and I just never have. And Spirited Away, of course, which everybody seems to still wax poetic about to this day. So I mean, I never really got into Miyazaki though, because I never really had it come across my field of vision.
I've always wanted to do those when Fathom does those festivals, but the thing is that would add up to a kind of a small fortune based on some prices.
If I wanted to single out a Miyazaki one, it'd probably be either Howl's Moving Castle or Spirited Away, but I think the favourite that I've seen probably is Grave of the Fireflies, because it's really not. It's not your standard Ghibli, probably because it's not Miyazaki. It's not very fantastical. It's sort of trying to be sort of relatively gritty and showing you how bad it was for Japan in the aftermath of obviously the bombing that happened in Kobe, where it's all set, and then obviously the aftermath of them recovering from the end of World War II and the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings and everything. So that's a pretty good, something that isn't what you'd expect from Ghibli, because it's not got talking dragons or other stuff. And I guess in that respect as well, there was nobody massively big on either of the dubs. of Grave of the Fireflies as well. The biggest one in hindsight will probably be the mother being voiced by the same voice that did Ash Ketchum for however many years in the Pokemon stuff. But other than that, it's not like nowadays where it's, oh, let's get Hollywood names or whatever to do the animated dub. Yeah, it was back in the early days where it was just we got what was available sort of thing.
Doesn't it say something about the strength of their catalog that we all said a few and we never repeated?
Mm-hmm. That is pretty fair. And because it's by decree, because it's Spencer, of course we are once again been asked what our favourite scene from Pacific Heights is. Because of course it is.
I like the tension of the scene at the hotel when he comes back just as she's leaving, and there's almost a crossing of paths.
You ask me things that I don't. It's like when you watch something once and it's not resonating in your mind like it probably should be, because this is obviously what I've been dealing with forever. The thing is, I guess you would say just the feeling in general of existential dread anytime Michael Keaton is on screen. I feel like that's my cop out answer, but that's the I'm going to give.
To me, it's where the tension builds as soon as he shows up in the room, and then you never see him for sort of like 5 minutes, as it's, you know, things are happening in the room and you don't know what, and then he only shows up when Carter gets to the point where it's like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna cut off the electric and all that to get you out of there, and you're like, oh no, I've done nothing wrong, sir. So that just added sort of tension as to like, what are they actually doing? Is he just banging about to sort of like cause trouble, or is he actually trying to do the place up? Is he a nice guy, or is he Batman? And this is some weird sort of tie-in.
Also, honorable mention to another scene. I was trying to figure out a way to put it to where it didn't come off crass, so I'll just say, it's always nice to be reminded how good Beverly D'Angelo looks. So.
Mm-hmm. And Spencer's last thing is favorite scene on a ledge.
Is Cat's Eye cheating? Because there's a whole segment devoted to it.
Oh.
Oh wait, I think I have one. The one in 1408. Still, kid. My answer was going to be Stephen King, regardless. when he's out on the ledge, and then he realizes there's no more windows and the wall is endless, and then just when he realizes that, the horn of a fire truck makes him jump and almost fall. Is perfectly timed. All of that is perfectly timed.
I'm trying to think. The one that I saw, at least in the list on the one thing of looking at, was Grand Budapest. And that stuff. But part of me also feels, I mean, technically, wouldn't North by Northwest's finale be a ledge? Hanging off the side of Mount Rushmore?
I'd count that, yeah.
You know, and that's...
I mean,
That's very well done because you're still at the point where you don't know what the hell's going on. And how for some people, by the end of the film, they're still wondering what the hell's going on.
I mean, given what yesterday was, I feel like Empire is a good one, but I guess you would say that might be more of a bridge than a ledge, but
Yeah.
loose interpretation, but I mean...
Well, really, I mean, isn't anything you can hang off of a ledge, technically?
And that's why I was like, can I classify a clock hand as a ledge? Because I was going to
Yes.
say that I was going to say the obvious Harold Lloyd, clock scene and everything. That was that good. They decided let's copy that and put it in the 39 steps.
There's also the climax of the '89 Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But yeah, it was like I watched it for the ending for the first time properly in a while, and I forgot. I know of the bit because it's just like Robert Powell being on the side of Big Ben supposedly, and like doing all the weird stuff as like the assassination plot's trying to go on and everything. And apparently, his weight is enough to stop Big Ben from ticking. Dear Lord, this was clearly written by somebody that was. The crazy thing is, it did that well enough. They did a TV spin-off with the same character in other like situations. So I don't know what Lou Grade was thinking. He was off his tits or something, clearly. Because I still don't think there's been a good 39 steps apart from the original. Really. I'm waiting for somebody to try again because it feels like, especially in this day and age with all the sort of, nothing is as it seems and fake news, you probably do a good rebooted version today. Just don't try and set it in, period time like the book was. If you can adapt it well enough, do it. So Josie says, I finished reading The Brave Adventures of Lapitka by beloved Croatian author Ivana Brudic-Madušnik. A wonderful book. Owen Spencer says, favourite scene out on a ledge. It's funny you bring that up with the Megalopolis teaser. I ain't seen it because until I know it's actually coming out, I'm thinking that this is a film that doesn't exist. This is something that's going to be like Fever Dream. It'll be the original cut of Gilliam's Lost or La Mancha film, or whatever we want to call it. Obviously not Lost in La Mancha because that's the making of. That's the Hearts of Darkness. That's the making of.
It is funny that this and The Man Who Killed Don Quixote both star Adam Driver.
Mm-hmm.
Like it.
Yeah, I just realised that.
It's like he's the actor all the classic directors have been waiting for.
Josie says the beginning of Men in Black.
Oh yeah.
Ledges stuff as well. And then Josie also brings up the safety last Harold Lloyd thing, which the Megalopolis teaser reminded me of.
Last Action Hero.
I also finished reading
many ledges in that.
I also finished reading Martyr by Iranian American poet Kaveh Akbar. An amazing novel, should be in contention for literary awards this year. Josie's asking me what Pulitzer Prize winning novels have I read, if any. So I'm going through the list. I know I own Oliver Kittredge, but I haven't got around to it. I've read The Road, just because it was obviously in or about the same time as No Country for Old Men, getting sort of pushed in paperback, and I think The Road was about the same time, because obviously we only had the adaptation of The Road like 2 years later, which I think that's one that Cormac did himself, right? Because I don't think Cormac did the adaptation of No Country for Old Men. That was the Coen brothers, but The Hours I've read. Trying to look through some of the other ones in the list. Rabbit is Rich. I've read. Kill a Mockingbird I've read. Had to do that in the some point in school. Old Man and the Sea I've read. Grapes of Wrath I've read. Gone with the Wind I've read. I've read The Age of Innocence. There's a few others I wouldn't mind reading because, of course, there's a fair few like Magnificent Ambersons and Caine Mutiny and what was the other one that I saw that I know I've seen the movie of but I haven't actually read the book? Oh yeah, Colour Purple and Shipping News as well. Yeah, there's a few there that like I've seen the films. I haven't seen the actual main ones. Although I did get confused in 1996 how there was a book called Independence Day, and I was like, what? Oh wait, it's not that one. Thank God.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Especially when it's all related to sort of, a real estate agent. It's like an actual sort of. Yeah, it says similar in form and themes to John Updike's Rabbit novels. That I've read the one, but I've heard a lot of the audio plays of them because it's Toby Jones, and Toby Jones normally doesn't do anything wrong in his stuff. Yeah, so it's just like it came out in June 1995. So it obviously won the award in '96, but that's kind of ironic. Josie's new watches since last time. The Enchanted Journey from '81. Who's Minding the Mint from '67. 1984's Razorback. Naturally Native from 1998. Albert Brooks's Real Life from '79. Youth Without Youth from '07. 91's Daughters of the Dust. 92's Noises Off. Coma from '78, along with Smoke Signals from '78. And Il Divo from 2008, which confuses me because I think of just the classical singing group, not that there was a film called Il Divo as well, because they were around at the same time.
I remember getting Il Divo from Blockbuster right after the Oscar nominations came out, and it got its makeup nomination.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I have to say, I was shocked that Blockbuster had it.
I do find it interesting though that Italy really likes making movies about their own politicians. Because was it 5 years after that we got Lauro? The Berlusconi one? I think. Oh no, 10 years later, that was 2018. And it was also Paolo Sorrentino. So what I'm establishing here is in 2028, some Italian politician that also screwed up in the last few years is going to get a biopic on him.
He's got something at Cannes right now, doesn't he?
Yeah, the Parthenope. With the Gary Oldman. As apparently as John Cheever, the actual, author, so that's not confusing at all. But it's about a woman who bears the name of her city but is neither siren nor myth. So now I'm even more confused. So we'll have to see how it is when people get around to it. Josie asks of myself and AJ thoughts on any of those films. Oh right, thoughts on any of the films that mentioned if you've seen them. I vaguely remember Youth Without Youth, but not vividly. I think yeah, I didn't see that in the cinema, but I did see it on digital. I'm guessing it was. It's it's a mess. Again, it's sort of it's why I fear for Logopolis, because it was. I think it was one of those ones that had like a stupid runtime, then got reduced and reduced, and then basically it got cut down to sort of 2 hours, and it's somewhat still a mess anyway. They like halved the length, and it still doesn't make sense. And from what I heard from the people that saw the full version, apparently that made less sense even more. So who knows?
I'm not sure how Joe finds some of these, but most of those did not even sound familiar to me. And I've always been under the impression I've seen a lot of shit, and the stuff I haven't seen I've at least heard of. But there are many times where Josie will pull out a few things where it's like, I'm not even sure what that is, which is exciting.
Okay.
I have one I've seen out of that list, and that's Noises Off.
So yeah, Enchanted Journey is a Japanese anime from '81, which probably notable, at least for US release, is that one of the characters was voiced by Orson Welles. That's all I can see about Enchanted Journey. Who's minding the mint? I know there was some weird film that I saw. Okay, it's not. It just sounds like it's the same style of thing. Yeah, so Who's Minding the Mint is directed by Howard Morris with Jim Hutton and Walter Brennan and Dorothy Provine, and wow, that's the only name I recognise from the stuff directly is the music was done by Lalo Schifrin, the guy behind Mission Impossible and Bullet and all that. No, what I wondered Who's Minding the Mint was whether it was like an American title for. It was some weird one with Ursula Andress and David Warner and Stanley Baker, is it, from Zulu? And it was like some sort of weird thing.
I'm gonna have to look some of these up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would look them up now, but I'm afraid to ask this computer to do anything else.
Yeah. Okay, so the one that I saw was Perfect Friday. I think I only stuck with it is because it was directed by Peter Hall, the big theatre actor over here, who also obviously dabbled into other film and television stuff. Because I think he did what was it? Has Hallelujah even come out for you guys yet? Because I want to say no.
Does not ring a bell.
Alan Bennett's latest one. Which was a good play, and then kind of lost its way in terms of whatever you'd call it for the movie version. Okay, Hallelujah wasn't him then. His last film was Never Talk to Strangers. Who did Hallelujah? There it is. Oh, Richard Dyer. Wrong theatre director. Yeah, that's an interesting play, and then they kind of ruined it with the movie version, to some extent, I would say. Josie also says, "Rest in peace, Paul Auster." Why do I recognise that name? Oh, American writer and director of. Hang on, what? I'm trying to look at why. That's published works and this screenplays. Okay, nothing that stands out. I see Smoke, I see Blue in the Face, I see Lulu on the Bridge, and The Inner Life of Martin Frost.
Blue in the Face is kind of like the unofficial sequel to Smoke, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I think Wayne Wong is the director that did those, or did at least one of them.
Yeah, Wayne Wang and yeah, Paul co-directed Blue in the Face, from what I can see. Josie also asked me, have you read any Douglas Preston or the Preston and Child books? Considering how I don't know what those are, my guess is no. That doesn't ring a bell. Josie saw The Fall Guy today. Thought it was a lot of fun. Saw Challengers last week, and while watching it, I thought of Roger Avery's Rule of Attraction and Swim fan. So she rewatched Rules of Attraction. I mean, Challengers doesn't have that much drug use. It also doesn't. It's the only bit I remember because it was in the trailer that I saw God knows how many times on the disc that I got from the cinema. When it's the scene, take the things off the table, Richard. It's Dick. Will you stop doing that? Well, fuck you.
I probably haven't seen the Rules of Attraction in 15 years. But I could still probably have a full conversation about it. Like I think I remember every scene, because there was like a period there where I was kind of obsessed with it, which that's a really weird movie to have a moment of obsession with, but but it happened. I even listened to Carrot Top DVD commentary of it, which is a feature on the DVD.
Which, considering how it's a Bret Easton Ellis novel, makes perfect sense. Some trivia from it. When the production couldn't afford George Michael's Faith to be used, Roger sent George a letter asking if he could lower the price, and so George Michael gave him the song for free.
Holy shit.
So that's how you do it. Timothy Knight says hello there in perfect Obi-Wan voice. Hello there. I only do that because they're doing the 25th anniversary screenings over here for episode 1. Even though he doesn't say it until episode 2, but whatever.
They're doing it here too. It was May 4th yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, but like it's on more times at my cinema. Hang on. I ain't got this chart up because I'm trying to sort that out, but it's on. I mean, for some reason they still want people to see Back to Black as well, even though I think people really are not a fan of that, because they decided to do maybe the mistake of, if the person doesn't sound like Amy Winehouse singing, maybe you should dub it. Even Bo Rap Horseman, as I call it, Bohemian Rhapsody, sort of dubbed in practically like 99% of it. And I still go back to the best way you deal with that is what they did with Chadwick Boseman for Get On Up, the James Brown story. Because as long as he oozed the charisma in and you had somebody sort of playing music over the top of him, you wouldn't get it. Oh, Well, this is ominous. So the end of the world party from Rules of Attraction was filmed on 9/11.
Oh God.
Yeah. That isn't scary at all, is it? Bale turned down an offer to reprise the role of Patrick Bateman, of which I believe, from what it said on Wikipedia, that Casper Van Diem did it, but it's basically like DVD extras. It was never actually included in the final cut.
I remember that.
He's like taking a head out of his refrigerator or something while he talks to Sean on the phone.
Yeah. The line "I need you like an asshole on my elbow" apparently came from Pandemonium Reigns, which served as the basis for the Gold Watch segment from Pulp Fiction.
Of course.
While Tarantino took the line out of Pulp Fiction, that's where it got used in Kill Bill Volume 2. I feel like that would have been Madsen's character saying it. Or I guess it could have been Daryl Hannah. Because they did have that sort of meeting between the two of them before they worked out what to do with the bride.
It could have been something Madsen's boss said to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting here, every time Roger Avery's name comes up in relation to Pulp Fiction, all I do is sit here and ask myself how much he earned that Oscar that he has.
Yeah. Christina Ricci turned down an offer to play the character of Lauren Hyde that Shannon Sossamon got. The diner scene was filmed at the Carousel Diner, which is a closed restaurant and is used only for filming films. You'll have also seen it in Seven, Big Lebowski, and Training Day.
I think Ghost World maybe too.
Yeah, it's been in a fair few. Sean Bateman and Paul Denton actually appeared in the original novel of American Psycho, but didn't get put into the film adaptation. Oh, and apparently they've also added another film relatively last minute to the Palme d'Or contenders, and it's the return of Michel Havenius with The Most Precious of Cargoes.
I think I saw like a couple got added, but that was the one that stood out.
The first animated film to be in contention since Waltz with Bashir, which was like 15 years ago, I think.
I want to say 2008.
Yeah, that's why I said, I couldn't remember whether it was 08 or 09. I know it was in around that time because, of course, with the way the films were released over here, it was like, oh, it comes out 6 months later. Josie also rewatched Titan AE, The Cutting Edge, and both Babe films. What would happen if the animals in Babe teamed up with either Mad Max or Furiosa in their adventures? They'd probably be dead.
I don't think none of them were made for the desert. I don't think. Let alone desert war zone. I don't.
I mean, they need a lot of water, and considering how water's that struggling anyway, in all the Max franchise, yet alone, Fury Road and everything. So, some Babe.
This would be.
Go ahead.
This would be an even shorter conversation if she had asked about the characters in Happy Feet. They 100% would not.
I mean, they'd be eaten. That's how we get it. Some Babe trivia. When Cromwell was handed the script for the original thing, he thumbed through it to see how many lines that he had. He saw that he didn't have that many. Only 171 words of spoken dialogue and 61 words that were sung. So he decided to do it because it was a nice, easy film. Here's the myth that everyone will be like, what the hell? Because baby pigs grow so fast, there were 48 babes.
Wouldn't the punchline to that Cromwell trivia be his Oscar nomination?
That sort of does make sense, yeah. Magda Sabansky was only in her early 30s when she got the role of Esme Hoggett, who was supposed to be elderly, so they made her look 20 years older.
So she looks a lot older than
Yeah.
that.
Also, USA pork sales dropped by 20% after the movie came out. Weirdly, the opposite happened when Peter Rabbit came out, so we know how well that did. Well done, James. Babe was released in 1995, which was the Chinese Year of the Pig. The Sheepdog Championship takes place at the Kingsmith Fairground. The electrician whose truck Rex hitches a ride on is named Dick. There we go. Tie it into the rules of attraction. The trophy Esme polishes at the start of the film is for the Kingsmith District Show, which also includes tributes to Dick Kinsmith, the author of the original thing. Oh, Cromwell claimed that he paid for his own Oscar consideration campaign at the cost of 60 grand. And then in turn, imagine either Tom Hardy or Mel Gibson saying, "That'll do, pig," in Mad Max. As I say, it won't be "That'll do, pig." It'll be "That pig's done. Get it off the griddle." It'd be too hot.
Why is it that I can imagine Hardy saying it so vividly?
Well, for me, it's because I just saw the Bike Riders trailer recently, so that voice is stuck in my head right now.
Tarantino called Babe one of his favourite films of 1995, which surprised people. During test screenings, kids would often ask, "What did that say?" when the character... when the chapter of the movie began. Which is why they brought in the Harlettes to voice the mouse to sing the chapter openings. Cromwell also said there was tension on the set between George Miller and director Chris Noonan. Noonan later complained, "I don't want to make a lifelong enemy of George, but I thought that he tried to take credit for Babe, tried to exclude me from any credit, and it made me very insecure." Miller shot back, "Chris said something that is defamatory, that I took his name off the credits, which is absolutely untrue." I forgot that George Miller was even involved with Babe, so, good job, George.
He directed Pig in the City.
Right. It says a lot. He just became the Mad Max guy for so much, even though he has done stuff that isn't Mad Max. I'm trying to think what else I've seen that he's done. Oh yeah, he's going to be in Death Stranding 2 next year, whatever the hell's going on with that. Thanks, Kojima. Oh yeah, and he did those Happy Feet films. Dear God. So weirdly, he's done a lot. He's probably done more kids' work than he. No, he's done as many kids' films as he's done as Mad Max up until when the new one comes out at the end of the month.
with the Witches of Eastwick randomly thrown in there.
Yeah, and Lorenzo's Oil.
Yeah.
And obviously, technically, there was that. What was it? 40,000 Years of Dreaming, the documentary thing that he did.
There was 3,000 Years of Longing, the Genie movie from last year.
Back, yeah, that was a film. I don't know whether it was good. I don't know if it was bad.
For a while it was. I don't know why it was like everybody gave up when we got to like the last half hour.
True. Oh. I thought this was Matrix trivia. Turns out, no, there's a crossover here as well. 2 of the 3 agents in the Matrix also are in Babe. with one being Farmer Hodgett's son-in-law, and obviously Hugo Weaving being the voice of Rex the sheepdog. I knew of that one, but I didn't realise the other one.
Yeah.
And 3 years earlier, James Cromwell portrayed a priest in another movie, Babe Ruth, the Babe. That's that John Goodman one, right? That Siskel and Ebert ripped the crap out of.
I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Yeah. The box office failure of Pig in the City and Meet Joe Black led to Casey Silver resigning from Universal. More people should do that when their films go bad. Go ahead.
That's interesting that Pig in the City wouldn't have done well since, number one, movies aimed at kids tend to, just by default, the acclaim of the popularity of the original movie and the fact that it was unanimously seen as pretty great by a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's really weird that it wouldn't do well. It had everything in its favor.
The ape name Felonious is a reference to Felonious Monk. Oh yeah, because I was watching these clips on YouTube a few months back. Babe Pig in the City was Siskel's best film of 1998.
Yeah.
And that was his last, of course, because he passed only a few months afterwards. Kind of weird to go out on, but Elizabeth Daily replaced Christine Kavanagh as the voice of Babe because Kavanagh wanted a pay raise for voicing the main character in a sequel to an incredibly popular film, but the Universal execs refused because they viewed voice actors as expendable and felt that audiences wouldn't care that Babe's voice was different. Dear God.
So did I hear correctly that Tommy replaced Chucky? Is that what happened?
As Josie says immediately after, they both did voices on Rugrats, so yes. Also, it's a favourite film of Tom Waits, who confessed to watching it so frequently that his children began to hate it.
That might be the best piece of trivia that's ever been said.
So we're gonna watch Babe again, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just sit here and he sits at his Barca lounger and he's got his root beer.
Having heard that song at least, having heard that song in the cinema at least 3 times in bloody Jojo Rabbit, I Don't Want to Grow Up. Watching Babe Pig in the City makes so much bloody sense.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that's what that song is about.
Yeah. The 4th live-action non-animated film to feature character voice actor Jim Cummins, who voiced the Pelican. His 2 previous ones was the garbage Pale Kids movie. 31 years prior, Cabin Boy. 31 years prior, Cabin Boy 5 years prior, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit 32 years prior. His next 2 live-action films after this would be Small Soldiers, and then Christopher Robin. He only does everything when he feels like it. Noonan is rumored to have been pleased when the movie bombed. I'm getting Noonan was, yeah. Speaking of Felonious Monk, Percival Everett has a new novel out called James, which is the story of Huckleberry Finn, but told from the slave's point of view in Jim. I guess if it was good enough for doing different views of the Twilight novels and all that, and 50 Shades with all that, I guess that's the new thing. We take stories and we get different looks at it.
That could be really interesting. That's a very clever title, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Percival Everett's wife is also an author. She wrote Caucasia, From Caucasia with Me, New People, and Symptomatic, and there's a new novel coming out in late July called Coloured Television. Some Titan AE trivia. The film was originally pitched to be live action, the first and only directed by Don Bluth to be rated PG by the MPAA, despite some very dark and violent imagery and content in his other films. That kind of makes me think of, considering how I know that Ryan Reynolds films are all supposed to be sort of, adult, or at least, 15 certificate, at least going by Free Guy and Deadpool and everything. It was weird me looking today that If, or whatever we call it, Imaginary Friend, is actually a you over here. Ryan Reynolds is actually going to be in a child-friendly film. What the hell? It's going.
How funny is it that Ryan Reynolds' whole MO is, I make movies that are funny for adults, but yet he uses the humor of like a 12 to 15-year-old in order to do that. It's very interesting. Kind of ironic. Yeah.
Fox fired the original director of Titan AE after 18 months and lost $30 million for it. When Bluth and Goldman were hired, the studio gave the new directors 19 months to produce the film from scratch. And the box office failure led to the head of Fox being fired. Good. More people being responsible for doing stupid things. More of this should happen, for God's sake. How have we not had more people come from Disney yet with all their flops? Rumours persisted that Murdoch fired Bill Mechanic himself for greenlighting Fight Club because Murdoch despised it. And apparently Titan AE's box office failure was the final straw. The second film to star Nathan Lane and Jim Cummings together. The film's working title was Planet Ice. Matt Damon's first voice acting role, closely followed by Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. You'd have thought Damon would have shown up for the sequel.
While we're on the topic of animation and Disney and stuff like that, there is something I just need to throw out there. Everybody's throwing a massive... By the way, this shirt is unplanned. Everybody's throwing a massive hissy fit over the existence of this Mufasa movie. And it's like some prequel movie, I'm guessing.
Well, that's the confusing thing, because Beyonce's daughter's going to be playing Nala and Simba's daughter. So I've got a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night. Damn it, Black Eyed Peas. But it's going to be like they're going to show up at the start, maybe do a song and whatever, and then it'll be like, oh, here's the story of Mufasa. And then it'll switch back and whatever. My guess. In some shape.
And people are just really laying in. I mean, they always lay into like the sequels and the remakes and the prequels and all that, but there's something really interesting about this movie that none of these people are acknowledging. I remember hearing a while back that Barry Jenkins was supposed to do a Lion King movie, and then I didn't hear anything for a long time. I didn't realize this is it. This is the Barry Jenkins Lion King movie. Now, mind you, it may just be a director for Arsenault. He may just be getting a paycheck so he can make one of his own movies. But still, I would think visually, at least, there's got to be something interesting about this.
I mean, you'd hope.
But at the same time, I feel like the people who are invested enough in like Disney's properties that they get, it ruins their day to find out a movie like this exists. I don't know if that crosses over with people who would know who Barry Jenkins is, but I just found it weird that it's like that. Apparently that's not on any of the promotional material or anything. and that's interesting to me.
I feel that's the issue, because if you look at 80% of the films that art house slash indie filmmakers have made for Disney, when they've been given the job, you know, to step up, they've been basically left to drown, and Disney hasn't helped them.
Yeah.
So it's that, you know, it's that sort of the double-edged sword of you can take it and have a really good chance, or this will finish your career.
Reminds me of when Bill Hader satirized this on Barry, when Sean Hader was doing a superhero movie, and she has the dialogue where it's like, you know, because somebody looked at this superhero movie and said, I see the director of Coda for some reason. Which a lot of people said was a direct reference to Chloe Zhao, but there's plenty of circumstances where this has happened. What's his name that did the Jurassic World movies after Safety Not Guaranteed?
Colin Trevorrow?
Yeah, the Book of Henry guy. That's what we're gonna call it.
Sure.
Funny you bring up, because I just saw that Sean's now doing an adaptation of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which was one of the I think it was a young adult novel, but at least well received in the last few years, mainly because it sort of revolves around video games and things like that. Although not as directly as, like, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog. It's just they, you know, two friends that I'm just seeing here on the Variety article, two friends who meet as children but then reunite as adults to create video games.
So no connection to Macbeth then.
No. I don't think so. Matt Damon's first voice act, yeah. So it was merely first-person narration for Spirit, but of course Damon also did Bill the Crow in Happy Feet 2, and is voicing Flower in If in a few weeks, and also did a voice for the English dub of Ponyo. When will DiCaprio ever do a voice in an animated film? Oh. I feel like we're probably getting to the point that it might happen. It's just you got to get the right role for him that he'll be interested in.
He seems to choose his projects by director. So I'm curious what kind of project it would have to be and who would be doing it.
Now it's just considering obviously the last few films that he's done over the last 10 years and whatever. I'm kind of wondering what would Leo do in an animated Tarantino film.
Well, are we talking like Kill Bill animation, or like if he did an actual kids like animated movie?
Well, it doesn't have to be kids. I wouldn't say it doesn't have to be kids, but...
Well, I mean, now that he is a father twice over, I think, maybe it's not impossible.
True. At the same time, though, I still get scarred that he was somehow involved with that bloody Robin Hood film from 2018. Dear God. I wonder whether that's where Taron Egerton sort of nearly lost his career. Because it seemed rocky after then, and then I guess Rocket Man sort of helped again.
Wow, was that movie really that long ago?
Yeah.
I almost immediately forgot it. So
what I love is half the time when I see it like on the TV listings, I have to look. Because if it's like the 2018, I want to avoid it. But if it's the Russell Crowe one, I'll be like, oh, it's all right. And obviously, like, the original Robin Hood from like the 30s, which is like the really good one, has like an actual subtitle. It's not just Robin Hood, like Ridley Scott's was and all that.
I was trying to remember if the villain in Taron Egerton's Robin Hood was somebody like Ben Mendelsohn or actual Ben Mendelsohn.
No, it was Ben
And
Mendelsohn.
Like actual Ben
was the
Mendelsohn.
sheriff, yeah.
And the fact that I couldn't remember for sure is just another testament to the blandness of that movie. When even because obviously that's a role he's been asked to do so many times, but he can usually make it work anyway. Like Rogue One and Ready Player One, and
Yeah.
the list is endless. But
an age-old question.
That's like when it reminds me of when W.S. Anderson made his Three Musketeers movie with Logan Lerman.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I keep thinking it was like somebody Walt Light that was the cardinal on that, but like no, it was actual Waltz.
Jody says this is an age-old question. Do we prefer Daffy Duck or Donald Duck? Huh.
I'm more nostalgic towards Donald because my first memory of Donald is in Mickey and the Beanstalk when he's literally losing his mind out of hunger. And in I'm sure I've watched more Daffy by quite a bit, but something about Donald makes me feel more nostalgic than Daffy does. You got to say something, Owen?
Yeah, I got to figure out how I want to word it though. Because it's a borderline dangerous territory saying this, but I feel like it's safe enough in how I'm going to verbalize it. Let's go back to Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the dueling piano battle. I've been a big Daffy Duck mark for a long time. However, I don't got no picture with Daffy Duck. I have a very happy picture with Donald, and that's all I got to say about that.
You brought up the dueling pianos and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I thought this was the direction of did or did not Donald call Daffy the N-word? That is still a question that nobody knows for sure.
We will never know.
Because, I mean, that's one of those things where you think it's like people are just saying that to say that, but, I mean, it sounds a lot like it.
Yeah, it definitely does.
I don't know. I think I'm even on both, but in essence, I feel the debate here sort of is very much like at least the first Shrek film, in that Donald, I think, is there for the sort of kids, but like some of the language that Daffy would use is sort of verging on sort of the in-joke adult stuff that you would have got in like Shrek 1, just to make sure that the parents aren't bored as well. But then I always felt you got that with Looney Tunes anyway, you know, with Smart Alex sort of Roadrunner and Coyote and Bugs Bunny and Foghorn Leghorn and Pepe Le Pew.
So I don't know where this is headed. So weird. In layman's terms, the first thing that pops into my mind is not now, God no. So many things have happened since now. So my analogy has nothing to do with them now, because that's opening up a can of worms I'm not wanting to go into. But that's like Donald is comfortably numb, friend to everyone, sweater wearing Bill Cosby, and God. Daffy was Richard Pryor. In the way they acted, that's a great comparison.
That is not the analogy I was expecting.
That's why I had to watch what I was saying because I was watching on eggshells there.
I was just about to bring up when Ashley was saying it was Looney Tunes was almost like more edgy. The fact that when I need to laugh, one thing that will always guarantee that is the clip of Bugs getting ready to play the piano and he shoots the coughing guy in the audience. And like literally pulls out a gun and shoots him and then starts playing. If I remember correctly, you hear his body drop. It's that detailed.
Let the bodies hit the floor. I know I haven't read this, so probably just for you, AJ. Have you ever read Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White?
Oh God, in like third or fourth grade, maybe.
Josie adds with it, I always thought it'd be funny if Damien Chazelle wanted to adapt it. I mean, at this rate, you can probably do anything. So.
Is that the one? Is that the one where a character has like a little brother and there's I can't remember exactly what the drama is. Am I thinking of the right thing?
A swan born
I don't
without
know.
a voice who learns to play a trumpet in order to impress another swan.
Okay, that's not at all what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And we are.
Well, now what the now it's gonna bother me now what the hell I'm thinking of. It'll come back to me, I'm sure.
I part of me feels like I know it's not his entirely sort of music style, but considering how it seems very sort of out there in terms of, you know, like a swan bloody going to a nightclub and getting $500 a week for playing on a trumpet. That just feels like it's Spike Jonze. Like, let him do it. He'll do something weird with it, damn it.
Well, hold on. Now, okay, now that I know the context, I understand the Damien Chazelle thing now.
Yeah. Apparently there was an animated film that has a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it might not be that good.
I think that has an unwatched DVD in this room somewhere.
D. Bradley Baker, Jason Alexander, Mary Steenburgen, Reese Witherspoon, Seth Green, Carol Burnett, and Joe Mantegna.
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure Reese Witherspoon's name is on that DVD, so it's in this room somewhere.
I somehow feel though that's like that, you know, the credit for like Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street that they just put on now because it's like, oh yeah, what's Johnny Depp's first thing? We're not telling you he gets killed in the first 8 minutes, but. A podcast I'd like to listen to occasionally is Neil deGrasse Tyson's Star Talk. He brings humor and accessibility to certain science topics, and being a literary person, I wouldn't understand otherwise.
Fun fact, Josie. A friend of mine is married to his sister.
That said, between Jurassic Park's Alan Grant, Wayne Zielinski from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Godwin Baxter, Doc Brown, or Indiana Jones, which fictional scientist do you think would be a cool guest for Neil deGrasse Tyson? I think all of these could possibly be interesting.
Well, at least one of them has resurrected the dead. That's something I'd want to know more about.
I mean, it should be neither of them. It should be.
I think you'd want to talk more to Hammond than Grant.
Yeah. About the technology of actually, you know, bringing dinosaurs back to life.
Yeah.
That being said, I think it should be Steve Brawl from Check It Out with Steve Brawl. That'd be amazing. Josie says, I'd love a podcast with Bella Baxter and Max McCandless from Poor Things. Bella's painful, all too truthful insights on the world, and Max presenting practical solutions. Which fictional movie or TV therapist would you like to have their own self-help podcast or YouTube channel? The store. What's the name of Billy Crystal's character in the Analyze films? Because I feel he would have interesting stories. I don't know if it'd be good self-help, but it'd be interesting stories.
Yeah, I was trying to think. The first movie therapist always comes to mind for me is Leo Marvin.
Oh, hold
The
on.
The next question is it pre or post insanity?
Hold on, I've got a bit of a list here that she's put up. So she's got Fraser Crane from, of course, Cheers. Oh, and also Fraser. Dr. Melfi from The Sopranos, Sean Maguire from Good Bull Hunting, Malcolm Crowe from The Sixth Sense, Dr. Patel from SLP. Having a brain fart. What's SLP?
That's Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh, right. Dr. James Harvey from Casper. Dr. Marvin Monroe from The Simpsons. Jerome Davenport from Antoine Fisher. Or Dr. Berger from Ordinary People.
Well, two of those people either currently are or have previously been ghosts.
Very true.
For spoiler's sake, I won't say which two, but as if you don't know. Sean Maguire's a good answer, actually. As a serious one. Because if we talk to if we heard from either of the ghosts, I'd only want to hear about the ghost stuff rather than their job.
I'm gonna have to say Dr. Patel because of obvious reasons.
I kind of want to say Davenport from Antoine Fisher. Because I think there's a lot of people that really don't know sort of like about, PTSD and things like that. I think he would have having experienced probably, crazy things himself in the Navy and whatever. He'd sort of have an idea as to sort of being able to chronicle sort of that sort of thing.
I have a tongue-in-cheek answer, but it's kind of an answer that makes sense. I'm going to go with Mike McShane from Office Space.
Might I add, another dead character.
You're not wrong.
This is a dangerous profession in movies.
Apparently.
Lately, I've been thinking about handwriting in movies and shows. So, some scenes where characters have to write on paper for whatever reason. It makes me wonder, is the actual actor's handwriting or whether it's somebody else with neater handwriting? That said, can you think of any examples where a character in a movie or TV shows had beautiful handwriting?
I know it's something I've noticed before, but I can't think of a specific example yet.
Yeah. I feel the stereotypical stuff is when you have, like, the biopic of, like, a famous author. And so it's like, well, by default, you have to have them, like, looking like they have presentable handwriting. Otherwise, it just makes them look like a unprofessional hack sort of thing.
Maybe Professor Humbert and Lolita.
I was going to say anybody. Pretty much anybody that's had to write with a quill pen. Has to be.
Including quills.
Potter.
Yeah, with I was thinking about the book in is it Chamber of Secrets, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then because in quills, a lot of things get written in a lot of different materials.
Funny you bring that up because Joe says, I think of Daniel Day-Lewis as John Proctor signing the confession in The Crucible, and Potter's handwriting in Tom Riddle's diary in Chamber of Secrets. Last night I was watching Harry and the Hendersons while my mum had the Star Wars marathon on for May 4th, and I was thinking about Harry and Chewie hanging out as friends. Of course, also with Bar from Spaceballs as well.
Hey, you chose to watch Harry and the Hendersons over Star Wars. That's the reason why you're a friend. You're a friend to us, Josie. I watched the TV series. I remember when it was a thing.
Yeah. Imagine during the combing of the desert, the doom worms try eating the comb. I mean, the digestion would be interesting. So.
There was a Dune joke waiting to happen. I wonder if he just didn't have the budget for it.
They're saving that for the sequel. Something my mum pointed out while Empire Strikes Back on was that Luke basically had a smartwatch on. To some extent, yeah. Yeah, Judi Dench has got a new book out, Shakespeare, The Man Who Pays the Rent, about her experience in Shakespearean roles. I still find that fascinating because of obviously how much it was drummed into her during her young days in the theatre. She can quote them off by heart, but she can barely read scripts for a new thing because her vision isn't that great and her memory isn't that great. But, so that's why she'll probably just see her in Shakespeare stuff now, because she'll be able to quote them off all by heart, sort of thing. Josie's buy one, rent one, lose one for Cinco de Mayo.
Okay, what we got?
It's films all that all take place in Mexico.
Oh no.
Of which this is big because of course there's one that's going to be the snag. So the snag is the first one, and it's obviously the mariachi trilogy. So obviously it's El Mariachi, Desperado, and Once Upon a Time in Mexico. From Dusk Till Dawn, Coco, Y Tu Mama Tambien, Sicario, Treasures of the Sierra Madre, The Wild Bunch, Gore Verbinski's The Mexican, the first Three Amigos film, Sin Nombre, Up in Smoke, Amores Perros, and The Book of Life.
I just rewatched Amores Perros recently, and I'm gonna try to take recency bias out of this because that's a fucking great movie.
It's tough.
Well, here's the thing. Kind of the starting point for my favorite actress becoming my favorite actress is here. So it almost seems like a given that has to be at the top. Question is, first of all, I think I'm actually, maybe this will be controversial. Well, no, never mind.
Watch what you say.
They're all good. They're all really good. Okay. Here's the problem I've run into. I was initially going to axe Up in Smoke. Because Cheech and Chong's style of humor doesn't exactly fit mine.
No.
With that said, when my first thought was to axe Up in Smoke, I think I was equating Up in Smoke to some of the later movies like Nice Dreams and Still Smoking and stuff like that, which are significantly worse than Up in Smoke is. Up in Smoke is like, there's a reason it was like the first one and the thing they were able to break off of. Maybe because it spawned all those shitty sequels, I might have to say it anyway. Just by process of elimination, because I can't bring myself to say any of the others. Maybe, I don't know. I think the second one would have to be, both of the Quarons really are really close second places, but I'd probably have to say Treasure of the Sierra Madre second. Which would leave, but sometimes you need something like Three Amigos, though.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go your life without having dopey laughs like that. I guess by process of elimination, Up in Smoke gets taken out. But while we're on the topic, I do want to throw out that The Mexican is really underrated. I was just thinking about that movie like the other day. I haven't watched it in forever, but it randomly pops in my head sometimes because I watched it so many times when it first came out. A great Gandolfini performance in that, by the way.
If I wanted to ditch one, I kind of want to say Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I do feel it's sort of like the weakest of the mariachi films. And I don't feel like that. Everything else in this list, I would probably go back to every once in a while. I don't feel like I want the. I don't feel I have the impetus to go back to that. Just sort of it didn't feel the same as the other two. You know, when Rodriguez was still sort of getting up and running. I think I'd probably also go with Treasure of the Sierra Madre for my buy in that respect, and then Rent because, you know, it's probably the first time I was fully aware of paying attention to him, but Sicario and the revelation that, you know, Taylor Sheridan can write damn good stories. It was only after that fact did I realize of him doing like because it was from that point that we got Hello High Water and Wind River, and you know, I'm a relative fan of what he's done on TV with the Yellowstone and all those spin-offs and all the other things. I didn't realize, you know, how much he's done. I didn't realize he was involved with Special Ops Lioness as well. It's like, dear Lord, calm down, man.
Not to mention acting every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few bits in. Hasn't done that much, to be fair, because I just see sort of Yellowstone in 1883 since like 2011, and then I guess he has the cameo in Hello High Water, and then that random appearance in 12 Strong as well. Uh-oh.
Was he on Sons of Anarchy, or am I thinking of somebody else that's a writer?
Sons of Anarchy was David Hale. He wasn't involved in the writing of it. But it's probably the money that he got from those few years of that started him off with his film stuff. Although, what might interest you possibly, AJ, is his next TV series based on the Boomtown podcast coming to Paramount Plus at some point, starring Billy Bob Thornton as a crisis exec at an oil company.
Interesting.
And John Hamm apparently is involved, Demi Moore, Andy Garcia, Ali Larter from Out of Nowhere.
I would like to come back to him because Those Who Wish Me Dead was really disappointing. So I'd love to see a bounce back from that.
Yeah. Well, he supposedly has Empire Summer Moon, or sorry, Empire of the Summer Moon in production. Will be writing and directing it. Yeah, it says here from Deadline, an epic on the Comanche leader Quanah and the rise and fall of the Old West's fiercest tribe. So maybe the prequel to Wind River. I don't know. Bryce says, so I'm a little late. I wasn't feeling well today, but I'm a bit better right now. Oh, Josie mentions that Parthenope is an A24. It's happening. I've also got some more Blu-rays, specifically a place that sold used games and Blu-rays. So Bryce picked up Incendies, Amor, Zero Dark 30, Bo Rap Horseman, Pirates, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. Iron Man, Princess and the Frog, and a massive surprise to me, the out-of-print Criterion Blu-ray of Curious Case of Benjamin Button. That's a fluke, isn't it? Wow. And some good news, the movie theatre next to my abandoned mall that was closed less than a year ago is now opening this coming weekend. It's alive. Hold on, I remember now. The earworm has gone into my ear. Is this why you want to bring up the movie thing discussion that you wanted to bring up, Owen? About movie theaters and stuff?
Well, I've been the old man on the Popcast for the longest time, and I don't care anymore. You marks that keep streaming things are killing cinema. That's the reason why the box office is so low, because people don't want to come out to theaters anymore. I get it. If it is a reason, like a health reason, or there's a certain circumstance that is not beyond your control, that's fine. But movies are not going to keep getting put in the theaters if we don't protect movie theaters. Mm-hmm. There's so much discourse going on right now about the Fall Guy. Fall Guy did nothing to what it could have done, which is a shame because it's a really well done movie. This echo is driving me insane, by the way.
Well, that's on AJ's end, I think. I don't want him to click anything in case, the fire burns.
So basically the thing is that everyone knows that I don't stream. And I'm not going to, and I shouldn't have to. If there's at least a window for people to watch a movie in a theater, then it'd be great. But I know that's not how this world works. And slowly but surely, it's degenerating to the point that we may not have movie theaters in 20 years at this point. It may go the way of video stores, and that's a shame, and I don't want that to be the case. I always feel like there's going to be at least a few theaters like around even after everything goes to digital, but it doesn't feel right watching a movie that is nominated for a high accolade like Best Picture on a computer screen or on a television. And you may have Frank's 2,000-inch TV and the greatest sound system known to man, but nothing beats being able to watch a movie in a theater.
I know a lot of complaints come from the other people are insufferable complaints.
You're not wrong.
I think I don't know how much this could actually equate to it, but another thing that comes to mind is, like I said, this may have nothing to do with this. I'm just throwing this out there. When movies were like really thriving in theaters, like in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that, and obviously further back, stuff was out in theaters forever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of people may not go right away. They might
Sure.
say, "Oh, I'd like to see that in a theater, but because it's so expensive or because of time or whatever it is, I'll go
Yeah.
somewhere down the line." But everything gets in and out of theaters so fucking fast. And that, number one, it's, because they'll be on streaming shortly after. But also, a problem I've noticed is anything that comes out that's even remotely big or comes from a big studio takes up like 3 or 4 auditoriums per
More
theater.
than that sometimes.
I remember they used to do that for the stuff that was going to be like Star Wars movies would do that. But it wasn't a movie that every single fucking movie that comes out did. But now every movie that comes out takes up like 3 or 4 auditoriums. So even theaters with a lot of screens can't hold things for very long.
No,
They just
not
come
at all.
and they go. So it's like a lot of people could say, yeah, I'd probably watch that in the theater, but I would need some time, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks from now. And they're gone in 2 or 3 weeks. Everything's gone in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's, I can't imagine that.
Well, look at the Fall Guy, for example. I mean, it has, obviously, most people don't know the IP because they're not supposed to. That's not the point. They don't remember the television series. They sure as hell don't remember who Lee Majors is. But the thing is, they see Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling starring in a movie that looks cool and it looks like something they're going to enjoy.
They've been promoting the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's by, no matter how this panel agrees with it, it's by a director that a lot of the marks like. So they've got all of the boxes checked off. But it didn't do much for business. And when Apes comes out next week, it gets kicked out of Dolby. And to be fair, the Fall Guy is meant to be seen and experienced in the best possible sound, the best possible picture, because that's the type of movie it is. It's like a Mission Impossible. It's an action movie that is a love letter to the stuntman and stunt woman out there, and that's the best thing about it. It needs to be experienced. It doesn't need to be watched on television. It's ridiculous. I hate this.
And I'm sure Apes plans on taking up about 3 or 4 auditoriums per theater too.
I know for a fact that's the case, especially with my theater.
And part of me wonders why it's just this obsession with being to be quote unquote part of the summer blockbuster range. The rush that always happens from May to sort of August. Because if you look at the list, Fall Guy is obviously the big release next week. Kingdom of Planet of the Apes is the big release next week.
Yep.
Then you've got If the week after that's going to be the one that's going to get a lot of people in. You've got Furiosa. You got Furiosa and Garfield for what would traditionally be sort of the holiday weekend over here towards the end of May.
Right.
Then there's absolutely nothing for that last week in May. But then you've got for June you've got Bad Boys 4. But admittedly, not everybody will in for that. Inside Out 2.
Which will be huge.
In mid-June. There again, you've got sort of the week off, which is where mid-June has now suddenly become, at least June the 21st has become the Oscar one, because you've got the Bike Riders and Kinds of Kindness coming out that same day.
Not going to do anything for box office, but they're potential award contenders, like you said.
But then you've got Quiet Place Day 1 and Kevin Costner's Horizon Chapter 1 coming out that same time.
Yep.
Then in theory you've got Despicable Me 4 and Beverly Hills Cop coming out. Admittedly, Beverly Hills Cop will probably just get put straight to Netflix, but it might have somewhat of a limited run.
I heard it was only going to Netflix. That's the reason why I didn't pay attention to it, but I could be mistaken.
You know what? And this whole thing about things not staying out very long, you know what else that kills? Is word of mouth.
Oh yeah, extreme word of mouth.
Like when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was out, and I'd already seen it 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, I might go again.
Sure.
The stuff that came out that made Once Upon a Time in Hollywood leave our theater was Good Boys, the sequel to 47 Meters Down, and something else totally forgettable. And it was out for like less than a month at our theater. And I was thinking back in 2009 when I don't know how many times we saw Inglourious Basterds while it was out. It was a lot.
Yes.
But it took my brother forever to see that movie.
I remember that.
Me and him went. It was like the last showtime of the last night we had it. It was like 2 months after it came out. The auditorium was packed.
Oh yeah, of course.
The very last showing it had, like 2 months after it came out, Inglourious Basterds was still packed. And the fact that movies aren't even out a month anymore. I think Dune 2 just left our theater just now. That's the longest time we've had something, and I don't know how long. So I think Spider-Man Homecoming was here for like 6 months. But
Makes sense.
But of course that's a big franchise thing.
And there's no superhero movies this summer, so everybody else is gonna try to get their piece of the pie.
Yeah, the only superhero film you're getting is the Deadpool and Wolverine, and that's not till sort of end of like July or August, I think. It says a lot. I was just looking through the box office mojo chart for this week, whereas you say Fall Guy sort of only got like 30 million or whatever. It says
Overall,
a lot that
I think
episode one was number 2.
Yeah.
Despite challenges being there, Godzilla Kong's in its 6 weeks. People saw Taro for some bizarre reason, because from what I heard, that's not good.
It's got some really good inventive kills in it. I'll put it that way.
But the fact that despite being on video on demand, Kung Fu Panda's still in the top 10 after 9 weeks, and Dune is just outside on its 10th week at like number 12.
And
there's still people wanting to go and see it. Okay, Dune's only in sort of like 700 screens or whatever, but on a screen average, it's still getting above 1,000, which is more than sort of Ghostbusters or Abigail can claim.
There's the Shrek 2 re-release, and the fact that 2024, except for a couple really bad potholes in the road, has been a fantastic year for horror. And horror, in some places, needs to be experienced in a darkened theater.
And I feel that's part of the issue as well. Like, for some reason, they've decided to do like a marathon sort of set of Mad Max screenings to tie into Furiosa. They've just added every single Spider-Man film for like over the August-September time, and I'm like, but there's other films that are like blockbusters that people will want to see then, but you're trying to bring it like a nostalgia factor because you're trying to get the people that don't want to come, but they're probably not going to come because they're more unhappy probably watching it on their TV via Disney Plus or Netflix, whatever, because if it's the Sony films, I think Netflix have the rights to them off the top of my head, but either way, and if the experience of the auditorium isn't going to be attractive to them, they're sort of doing this for no reason. You're not maximizing revenue.
And you can't, because you don't make anything on ticket sales. Your money is made off concessions. And luckily, I see a lot of people getting concessions. And the gimmicks, oh my God, the gimmicks are what's selling concessions now. Almost everything has a specialty popcorn bucket or a specialty cup. And it's great because they're cool things to have. I mean, say what you want about Mean Girls, and I'll defend it. I don't give a damn. I have a burn book that is a popcorn bucket. I have a ghost trap that is a popcorn bucket. I have lots of Taylor Swift stuff that is obviously just a popcorn bucket with her face on it. That's beside the point. These are things that sell. Garfield in Cinemark has a literal Garfield holding a popcorn, like like almost a life-size Garfield. The If characters have popcorn buckets. I mean, these are things that are going to happen because they sell. And they realized that they leaned into the fact that merchandise is what sells. So that's why they're selling merch at movie theaters now to up their revenue.
Yeah, God, the amount of Funko Pops and posters and T-shirts that I see now at cinemas. And it was like,
Absolutely. They were
I
selling Star
remember
Wars
when it
merch
used
the
to
other
be
day.
like Revels and Coke. Now it's like, okay, should I just go to my blooming, you know, you know, what? Even to some extent like HMV over here. You know, they still do CDs and DVDs and everything, but they like have a whole range where here is Japanese candy, here is Funko Pops, like
Yeah.
here are blind boxes because we can make
Yeah.
money on them because we buy them in for £2 and we sell them for £10. Um,
Ghostbusters had gimmicks for their Dolby screenings for AMC, and they were blind pin sets that you could get. And that would basically urge you to go multiple times to get all of the pins.
yeah,
And people did it. And that's genius.
There's also something kind of old fashioned about it that's charming. I know still selling shit is still selling shit, but yeah, there's something kind of old fashioned about the merchandising to bring in kind of thing. I like that style of corporate greed better than we're gonna shove all the other movies out of the auditoriums kind of corporate greed.
yeah,
God, they even had specialty cups and popcorn for the re-releases of like Luca and Turning Red and Soul, just to celebrate those three movies.
mm-hmm.
They have Kung Fu Panda, like basically like Chinese bowls. It's like all the things they did for Godzilla and Kong. I mean, there is a new gimmick every single week, and it sells, and I've seen it sell. The only reason I don't have a Fall Guy cup is because it's not as cool as I thought it was going to be. But I would have got one otherwise. She's on it, but it's barely there, so you would not be interested. So needless to say. But yeah, to be able to have like an Ecto One popcorn tub, that was great. We had that for the original Ghostbusters movie. When the new release came out, it's like there was an Ecto One you can get popcorn in. I have that over there. I mean, it's a lot of cool stuff, and you just want to keep collecting it. And that puts more money in the pocket of the movie theaters, and that helps their bottom line. Taylor Swift saved AMC 100%, and I have no problems admitting that. That money, that revenue was still coming in.
Have I mentioned how much I love the YouTube channel Vampire Robot?
I've never heard of this channel.
They have a shitload of archival footage that apparently it's like B-roll footage for news channels.
Interesting.
So it's like everything from just like a camera just observing like behavior in a mall in like 1991 or a high school in the 70s or something like that.
That's cool.
There's a lot of them for movie theaters.
That's even cooler.
And they just you're basically just like a fly on the wall, and it's like a movie theater from 1991, and people are paying $2 for a ticket to Kindergarten Cop and JFK. And it's like you can see the classics that were all out at the same time, and the stuff that was like sometimes they would do like Gremlins had a re-release like the year after it came out, and like every movie felt like an event.
I remember watching the Power Rangers sitting on the floor in Theater 2 in front of the seats because it was so packed.
There were people that had to sit on the floor when I saw The Grinch in 2000.
I heard about that, honestly. It's right before I started.
Yeah.
Started in 2001.
I didn't recognize that channel at first, but I now know where I saw it from because I'm on a VTuber binge and whatever, and and obviously VTubers at times, watch and react to sort of content. And one of the things was the launch of the PlayStation 2 back in 2000. And there was this one film crew that followed this couple, like literally getting it out of the shop, walking through the mall, going in their house, having them get the leads up, playing Smuggler's Run for some reason. But yeah, that's a vampire robot thing. It's
the one that was jarring to me was one of them is the opening of Deathly Hallows Part 2. And I was like, everything looks so nostalgic and like so long ago. It's like I was in my fucking 20s when that happened.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the worst
Yeah,
kept? Wasn't that the worst kept secret in movie premiere history?
I think you're talking about the Half-Blood Prince.
That's the one I'm talking about.
When you kind of whispered to me, "Hey, some of the employees are gonna watch Half-Blood Prince early, and I think we can get in." Went in there, the whole fucking thing is packed.
The entire city of where we used to live is 100% in that theater.
There was a guy I hadn't. There was a guy I hadn't. What do you say?
There's like riffraff from the streets.
I was gonna say a guy I haven't seen since junior high was in there.
He literally was like asking people, "Hey, do you want to come in? Let's prop the door open. It's all right."
Yeah, that doesn't sound sus at all.
The fun times, ladies and gentlemen, buy war bonds. Anyway. Shout out.
It is like I still have a weird feeling talking about that publicly, even though it was 15 years ago. It's like, are we allowed
Dude,
to
the greatest thing is when we were playing Pick a Destiny soundtrack and I had to run from box office to turn off the computer when guests came in. I literally ran for box office. I jumped or climbed over the countertop. I wouldn't have been able to jump back then, but I climbed over the countertop. I was like, no! I never stopped it. Like when Bruce Almighty came on, whenever we were, when I was working at Hollywood Video, because we were watching movies, and all of a sudden we got to that part, and I was like, no! It was great.
I remember wondering if you could play movies with profanity there, because usually it was like family stuff.
Yeah, my shifts were basically watching Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, and occasionally
a lot of Harry Potter, yeah.
And occasionally waiting on gas.
So it was back to you fuckers you were worried about, right?
That's exactly right.
Well, I guess there is one relief that now that I'm looking through these Spider-Man listings, they're putting it in one of the smaller screens. They aren't trying to put it in I mean, admittedly, it's only got 7 screens, but they're putting it in one that isn't like one of their bigger ones. So at least in that respect, it's all right, and it's only a couple of times. It's not like what Star Wars has done this weekend is just on all week, which I kind of don't get.
It's May 4th, Ashley. That's
yeah,
the gimmick.
But I still think if you did it around the weekend, obviously over here you can obviously extend it a day because we have a bank holiday tomorrow or whatever, so you could have it sort of then. But I wonder how many people are going to be interested Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday when the kids are back at school and the adults are working and they can't go to. Because I know at least, at my local one, a few of the showings are sort of at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the only ones that might get viewings from adults are the ones at sort of 7 in the evening.
That's what they didn't even start selling the Star Wars paraphernalia on Friday until after 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So they were selling it and they were packing into the theater as I was leaving, because I was leaving Fall Guy and everybody else was packing in wearing the Star Wars robes and their regalia and everything like that. And needless to say.
Is that a technical term? Hang on, I wrote that down.
AJ knows what I'm talking about.
I think something also that could benefit, because it's one of those things where people talk about, oh, you could do this, but nobody cares. And that's when Fathom does their classic screenings, the Turn to Classic Movies screenings. The thing about that is those tickets are like fucking almost $15.
Yeah, sometimes more.
When I saw down here at our theater, who rarely does things like this,
sure,
I saw The Shining here, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and The Goonies. And those were $5 tickets, and they were packed.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of that simple. Don't make tickets fucking $15. I mean, that, obviously that goes for movies in general, but also if you want to claim bringing classics back doesn't bring people, maybe do it reasonably priced. That might help.
Yeah.
Because every time I know sometimes they vary. Like we never had afternoon Fathom showings.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a couple where my brother lives. We went to a couple of afternoon Fathom showings for like Die Hard and Lebowski, where the tickets were only like $7, and at $7 they were packed. But at the place that only had the evening shows that were like $15, nobody was there ever. So, oh, and you were at some of those.
I was. It was sometimes just
when we saw On the Waterfront and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, there was nobody. Because that's when we started in the back, and I was like, well, if nobody's here, I guess we can go down to where the back row of the floor seats.
Yes.
Because mainly my thing is avoiding people.
Sure.
But sometimes it's unavoidable, like when we saw Singing in the Rain or To Kill a Mockingbird, which were sold out showings, I'm sure.
Of course.
But that was back when they were popular. After about 10 years of that, people didn't want to pay those prices anymore.
No.
So
Josie's waded in a bit on this because I felt, considering how long we've talked, there was going to be some sort of opinion in chat. And Josie said, now that many people are cutting cable or using it less, they now aren't seeing ads for what's out there, so they don't know. Also, I'm not talking about us. We rock. I'm talking about the idiot YouTubers and podcasters that are getting all the early access privileges.
I was saying, where is this utopia that doesn't have ads? I want to live there.
The counter argument could be how much percentage is that actually taking up, and that's fair, but it accumulates as a growing trend, not to mention that the people bring their friends. That's obviously relating with the influencers and all that.
Like I did one of those the secret movies, and I think I'm gonna go to the one in a week or so because I'm curious. It's R-rated, and I feel that it could be something important, but maybe not. I guess we'll see. AMC calls it Screen Unseen or Scream Unseen if it's a horror movie, and it's basically
they
a secret.
stole the name from the UK, right?
Absolutely correct. The secret movie is if it is Cinemark. Cinemark is literally like right behind me. Like my apartment is very close. There's a theme park in the way, of course, but they're still on the opposite side. That's where the theater I go to. I mean, I watched the Eras Tour there a couple times, and a lot of the Fathom events I go to because they're closer by than going to AMC, which of course requires me having to pay money to get over there. The thing is, it was a screen that was saying serial killer. Well, I talked to AJ, and we were convinced it was going to be Unfrosted. And because one of the gimmicks they were doing for a while was showing some of the Apple movies and a lot of the movies that obviously not out in theaters yet. And when the credit sequence started and I realized I was getting ready to watch Boy Kills World, I was kind of shocked. And I was like, well, I was going to watch this literally in 3 days anyway, so might as well. And I dug it. It was just a fun movie. That's great because I have seen movies in advance. Like I did a preview showing of Gran Turismo. That was completely packed. And there are other movies that I have done in the past that were completely packed as well, that were special showings that didn't like get a chance to have actual theatrical runs too. We've done that for years. Like Phantom of the Opera never came to my original theater, but it had packed showings on the weekends, but it never actually got a full run. So that happens sometimes. And I feel that if people are wanting to go see a movie, they're going to. And if they don't, then they're not. And people are going to stream no matter what. I mean, when the world shut down, everybody's like opinion on everything changed. And I get it, 100%. But for those of us that actually want to see a movie in a theater, just give us a little bit of a window so the GP can enjoy it just as much as we do. Please, I'm asking. That's the reason I can't watch all the best animated Picture nominees every year because most of them are streaming. That's why it took forever to get to Soul and Turning Red, because I never got a chance to see them in a theater. Yes, I'm stubborn, but I think movies need to be watched in a theater. Unless something's been gone and I can watch it afterwards when it's come out outside of the theater, give me a window, please.
Josie also mentions here studios could be more creative with marketing by going back to flyers and print ads. They can't just rely on online marketing alone because internet searches are going to be algorithmic pertaining due to individual interest.
Short attention span theater. That's another problem too.
Yeah, remember when they used to do they used to do teaser advertisements for movies that didn't even have the movie's title on it?
Yep.
It was just something that was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then it slowly revealed itself.
And what do people do in theaters nowadays? They don't even go to the trailers. That's when they come in late, or that's when they're getting their popcorn or their drinks or going to the bathroom, or be fashionably late and get in the way, and then they realize that Ghostbusters has already started and their seat's moving, and now they have to find a way to get in there.
I can the animosity towards that when they tell you the movie's going to start at a certain time and the 20 minutes of trailers start 10 minutes after the start time. And you've been watching commercials for half an hour prior to that.
Yeah.
Like commercials, not trailers.
Rolling
fucking ads.
Rolling stuff, yeah.
Car commercials that nobody gives a shit about. Have you ever seen anybody see a car commercial at a movie theater and go, I'm buying a car today? That's never going to happen.
I almost want to get up and say that one time and just see what kind of a reaction it would get. I'm buying a car today. It's even funnier because I said it.
The best bit. This is partially television as well, but occasionally you do get it in the cinema because they obviously just do. They program it in for that week and don't change it like during the week. There'll be some commercial which is like limited time offer, and then when you actually read it, you look at the small print like at the bottom because you've got nothing else to do because you've seen it so many times, and it says deal ends May 2nd, and it's like, but it's May the 5th. Why are you telling me this when I can't even take advantage of this deal that you're supposedly so excited about?
And trailers for movies that are currently at your cinema should have been taken off the week prior. I have this drilled into my head when I was a projectionist. This still happened.
Not to mention ads telling you should visit the movie theater you're currently visiting.
Yeah. I don't care what insert TikTok Mark says about this movie that I've never heard of before. It does not bother me what's a bit.
Yeah, what's with the rolling stock where these people introduce themselves as, hey, I'm at a username? Is this the future? I was just bashing TikTok earlier today, and I was like, I feel like I'm 70 years old. I know.
We're never going to get finished if we don't get out of this conversation.
We've got other stuff. We've got other stuff.
I kind of thought when you brought up the movie theater thing, that meant we were just about done.
Well, we kind of are, luckily, because
we got a Brian game.
The only other thing left is sort of Brian game and other stuff. So I'll get to the other Brian stuff beforehand.
I always forget about the game.
Last 2000s Oscar movies Bry's watched are Tim Burton's Corpse Bride, Training Day,
Nice.
the modern Star Trek films and their sequels, Happy Go Lucky, American Gangster, Babel, and earlier today, Erin Brockovich.
That's a good lineup. I especially love the not one but two evil Denzels in there.
I still forget that scene when Idris Elba's just there and Denzel's just like, bang! Straight to like his head in front of people. Like, wow.
I remember getting paid to watch Corpse Bride.
I believe that was my introduction to Idris Elba, actually.
That sounds right, actually.
Yeah.
Because I didn't watch The Wire until like 3 years ago.
Josie says, interesting news. I just saw a rare golden retriever puppy born with green fur. Of course, they named it Shamrock. Donald is kept being grounded by Daisy.
World's most dangerous puppy.com.
Maybe they got it wrong, and that's what should have been Clifford the Big Red Dog. Who knows? And then Josie also says, so cool, Owen, about your friend.
Yeah, Rich is a jam-up guy, honestly. He gets to go to, like, some of, like, the parties and everything, hangs out with, like, Seth MacFarlane, things like that. So, like, talked many times.
Also, tying back to what we said earlier, speaking of Mickey and the Beanstalk, that was one of the last times that Walt himself provided the voice of Mickey because of his schedule, and he smoked too much, so his lungs weren't able to do it.
Right.
And then Bry also mentions that the other two new French animated films coming out this year, Hannah Vicious' debut, but also Sylvain Chomet's new film, which Chomet is the one behind Triplets of Belleville / Belleville Rendezvous, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
And also Wim Wenders' documentary Anselm is being added to the Janus lineup on Criterion, apparently.
By the way, while we're on the topic, I feel seen by Criterion.
Way to put it.
Because I talked about how I cannot tell you how many times I have watched the Criterion video of Hawk and his buddy in the closet.
Oh.
And lo and behold, they brought him back with Maya. And I could not have asked for anything more.
I want to say they've already probably done one with George Miller, right?
No, I don't think so.
I'm just trying to work out with like the big films that are coming out, how many of them we might be getting to see in the Criterion closet. Because they'll be wanting to get publicity however they want. I
know the popular thing is we're still waiting on Scorsese. Scorsese's would have to be like 5 hours long, and we all want it.
That'd be that they just stick that on Apple Plus or something. Somebody would buy the rights to it. Bryce says, as of yet, I've yet to do my Oscar movie marathon for this year, which might not be until July, with Boy Inheritance digital release not coming till the end of June. I'm amazed it took that long for Godzilla -1 to come out, but at least, you know, it's out there for people to see now.
So glad to say I got to see that in a black and white setting in a theater.
Mm-hmm. As well. Right, so to the Oscars game. It's makeup and hair. We're doing 60s and 80s here because, of course, 60s had a few technical things, so obviously it's just our thoughts on those films, probably, with them.
I'll take a nap now.
Yeah. Now, I'm trying to remember what I remember of this first one. So for 1964, the special award for makeup and hair was given to Seven Faces of Dr. Lao.
I know I watched that during a Turner Classic Movies Oscar marathon, but I can't place any images.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, I do remember a lot of makeup.
Because of the name of it and everything, I just want to. I keep want to think of, like, you know, Dr. Phibes and whatever, the Vincent Price sort of like things from the 60s that was about the same time. It just sounds like that.
Yeah, it's like I can't. It's hard to recommend watching a movie for the first time during a marathon because there's a good chance it won't stick. If you're watching a lot of things for the first time, like all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they like really, really stand out.
Yeah.
But a lot of those are quite forgettable.
And then, of course, in '68, the special award went to Planet of the Apes. Which, yeah, for the time, that was probably the most realistic human form of apes that you've probably seen, really. and it sort of degraded, I guess, as the budget went down for all the sequels and the other, the because there were a few like TV sort of spin-off things, right? After they gave up on the movies, I think.
That sounds vaguely familiar. I don't.
I remember there
It
being
wouldn't
like
have
some
been
sort of
long.
TV series because that was where they had the return of Roddy McDowall, I think, for him. He was like the only person that sort of stuck around for him. Everybody else was like, "Nah, I'm not wearing that mask again."
Because he started off playing Cornelius, then he started playing Caesar. I can't remember if he went into another character or not.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. In the TV series, Roddy McDowall was Galen, a young chimp sent by Dr. Zayas. Oh, sorry, Counselor Zayas. Sorry, I just wanted to say Dr. Zayas just because of that bloody stuff. Simpsons thing.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Well, Seth Rollins yesterday was looking like the monorail guy, so
Dear God.
At the Kentucky Derby. So then we move into the 80s and kind of a rough one when you have two legends in Stan Winston and Heartbeeps losing out to Rick Baker's American Werewolf in London.
I mean, not only is American Werewolf in London like a staple of makeup in movies, I don't know if it's just the weirdness of Heartbeeps as a movie in general.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's yeah. That whole movie just kind of creeps me.
As it should.
It says a lot.
It's designed to do this.
It says a lot that it was involved in the 1981 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, but still got recognised for nominations in makeup at the Oscars and the Saturn Awards, and then somehow also made it in that year's Saturn Awards for Best Sci-Fi Film, even though it was also in the Bad Movie list.
So,
I wish there had been a scene in Man on the Moon where he talked about why in God's name did I do that movie.
it's in the book, but it's not in the movie. Because I read Andy's book and it's in there, but
I can't imagine it's something he was overly proud of.
not really. And Rick Baker's win for A-Will is legendary and has been drilled into my head constantly via the horror makeup show that it's still running to this day. Plus, it's the greatest IP maze we've ever done at Halloween Horror Nights. So yeah. There's
many people give it credit for the existence of the category.
That is exactly that is the verbiage that is used in the show. So yes, that is correct.
However, I imagine another large portion was that the Elephant Man had been the year before. And they were like, oh, we need a category for this. And then American Werewolf in London came along and was like, okay, we're making one.
Yeah.
So it was like a kind of a 1-2 punch of the Elephant Man and American Werewolf in London, if I had to guess.
And then, of course, the year after that, segue. Gandhi lost out to Quest for Fire, of which I was not aware of Quest for Fire at all. But then I saw Ron Perlman and I was like, yeah, makeup probably is a contender here.
Yeah, Quest for Fire was like the kind of like the Sasquatch movie that's just come out with Jesse Eisenberg.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically where it's like no dialogue and it's just like Ron Perlman and Ray Don Chong and they're like cave people. It's actually a really interesting movie.
Speaking of another movie that just left theaters after being there for like 2 seconds.
That was a movie I got from a place called Movie Gallery like a week before they closed forever.
I know what you're talking about. That's the sad thing.
And I watched it at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was kind of surreal.
Then we jumped to 84 because I guess 83 was shit. And this is when we actually, well, we predominantly moved to 3 in each category for this one. So in 84 we had Amadeus, beating out 2010, the year we made contact, and Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes.
I have been wanting to see Greystoke for a long time just because of Richardson's Oscar nomination. I still haven't. But I would say old F. Murray Abraham is mainly what we're looking at here.
Yeah, my only guess is probably Greystoke made it in because of the ape performers, and so I guess it'd be the makeup and hair for the apes. Before it became trendy for like Cry Freedom and all that.
I guess the makeup comes into play for Amadeus also as like Mozart's body's just giving out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. I know of at least 2 of these films. I don't know what the hell is that? Oh god. So 1985, Mask won out over The Color Purple and Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins. Also released as Remo Unarmed and Dangerous. From the director of Goldfinger.
It's hard to go against
and
Mask.
the writer of The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, I feel like this is no contest.
Yeah. How the hell did this bloody Dick Clark production, whatever the hell it is, with Fred Ward and all that, make it in? What happened? I'm trying to look like. Yeah, that doesn't. What the hell is this? Negative. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes has a 39. Okay, yeah. Like. Yeah, I don't know why it's there. That's more. I don't even want to say about whether I want Mask or Color Purple to win. It's just I don't want Remo Williams to. Like, why? Surely there was better makeup on Return of the Jedi. For the love of God. Or was that... Hang on, no, that was 82, wasn't it? What else was 85?
Yeah.
So I've got to try and think of something else.
Return of the Jedi was 83. The year we didn't have anything.
Yeah. Hell, the makeup in Rocky 4 was better. Than whatever the hell Remo Williams... What the hell? Right. So try and cope from that. 1986. The Fly beat out. Oh god, it's happening again. Maybe Legend and the Clan of the Cave Bear.
The hell? Movies aren't shit real.
Thanks, Daryl Hannah. What the hell? Oh, dialogue is conducted mostly through a form of sign language is translated for the audience with subtitles. So if you're blind, you're fucked.
I can prove Clan of the Cave Bear is a real movie. It's right here.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
I shit you not, it's also based on a book that I have around here somewhere.
It's that fucking famous bear, Bart the bear, that played the bear.
I think we can speed this up and agree that The Fly is obviously
Yeah.
This is one. I feel like this is I talked about this in prediction videos. This is usually a category that has a clear winner. Like there's rarely races in this category.
We're about ready. Well, there's one coming up in a couple years that I think might be a little bit of a race.
Yeah.
If you're talking about 88, the movie that won 88 had to have been in a landslide.
Yeah, but I got something that could at least contend. Maybe not very well, but contend.
So yeah, for 87, happy.
Oh wait, we have to shout out.
Oh, go ahead.
I forgot to shout out. Tim Curry's makeup in Legend is definitely worth mentioning. But still.
Yeah. Then yeah, for 87. Speaking of, Happy New Year. Lost out to Harry and the Hendersons.
Yes. More Rick Baker.
Mm-hmm. I think. Oh no, it wasn't his only other win. I guess it was his only solo win because he was collaborating with other people for the previous or future ones. So that means, you know, it's like I can't object to sort of Happy New Year being in there because like looking at like the VHS cover, I'd probably work out that the old bloke is him, but whatever makeup they did to put him in drag Tootsie style is actually pretty impressive. So I can't object to that, I think. So then, ooh. Okay, actual three good contenders here. There's not one where I'm going,
Remind
why
me.
is this here?
As I say, remind me what Beetlejuice's competition was.
Scrooged.
Scrooged.
Okay.
And Coming to America.
Oh, okay.
I'd say that's an actual
Scrooge,
strong list.
Well, as far as Scrooge, I assume the first thing that comes to mind is Forsyth's makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And David Johansen's like ears, I guess. And yeah, Coming to America is. I mean, it's. Yeah. I almost think the makeup in the sequel was even more impressive. Weirdly enough, it's the only good thing you can say about the sequel, but it's. But yeah, I guess the fact that even though it's not like politically correct, you'll notice people who watch Coming to America for the first time now don't even realize Eddie Murphy's the Asian guy. Like, it never even occurs to them that could be a possibility.
That's Rick Baker for you.
But I'd still say Beetlejuice strongly.
Yeah.
Because there's so much background makeup in Beetlejuice, let alone what's in the forefront.
That's why I'm sort of worried as to what happens with the new one. Like, how much CGI are they going to try and do with it rather than use actual makeup?
I keep hearing they're going to try to stay as practical as possible, but I feel like they say that a lot.
Yeah,
and they don't.
That's why, you know, I'm like, how much are we bending that phrase right there? And then for 89, Driving Miss Daisy beat out Dad and The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Well, Dad is impressive because there was a long time where I thought Jack Lemmon actually looked that old in '89.
I mean,
Munchausen's good too. But...
Munchausen, I thought would be the sort of the more recognizable nod, because some of the work done on God knows how many of the characters is pretty exceptional. I mean, all Dad, you know, Dad is sort of aging just to some extent, you know, Jack Lemmon, and then with Driving Miss Daisy, it's aging up, Freeman and Tandy to most extent, because I don't remember that much makeup being on Aykroyd.
Yeah, I think towards the end, Aykroyd's just like balding or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still very like in that very last scene, especially when Tandy and Freeman are like really old, it is like really convincing.
Mm-hmm. True.
But isn't there also, is Tandy made up the whole time to look older than she was then? She just got older as it went on. But I want to say at the start she was already aged by makeup.
Yeah, because her character was supposed to be 72 at the start of the film, and then it then transitions by the end to her being 97, and Tandy was in her 70s, in or about the time, because she died aged 85 in 94. So that's 5 years. Yeah, so she'd have just been about 80, and I don't think they aged her down too much, but yes, obviously, certainly for 97-year-old her, that's when it would have been more noticeable. Right. Bry says that is rotation 2. We're on to the third rotation now of the categories. So apparently I am not allowed to have an opinion here, because I've decided too many other times. So it's down to you two.
You mean it's down to AJ?
Well,
I hope there's multiple choice, because I don't remember what we've done.
Yeah, I am just getting. I'm getting the list so I can have an interesting sort of thought on what to cover. So we're going back round to the first pick when we started all this sort of stuff, which was film editing, and we've already covered the 70s and the 90s. So there's obviously a lot of stuff from back in the day that we can touch on, the golden age sort of stuff. And of course, we could dabble in some more recent stuff if you wanted, but
I was gonna say we can just jump one ahead to the 2000s.
Okay. 2000s it is. We'll be touching on the usual suspects, i.e., the ones that more often than not also got Best Picture, bar a couple of interesting decisions, which we'll discuss and everything. So there you go, Bri. Film editing of the 2000s, if you were watching on the archive, because chat's gone still, which is good timing. So we'll be back some point. Videos will be coming up. I think I double checked. There should be something coming from me in a few days to mark Mother's Day, at least in the game in Isaac, and maybe some other stuff that I can get lined up with things being busy on my end. I'll try and fit in what I can. AJ obviously has movie reviews and verses coming, as well as obviously on the archive for you to catch up on. I'm guessing, are we getting the latest edition of Speaking Bluntly in the next week? I'm guessing
it's either going to be late Tuesday or early Wednesday.
Righty ho.
That we get that.
And of course, Owen has a plethora of Ranger stuff. Food, drink, sing, related, and all that. And then, keep in touch with the channel. Give us a subscribe, give us a like, put your comments in, about various things, and that's that's the 11th anniversary mark. We'll see you for the 12th, I guess, in 12 months or so. We'll be doing stuff in between, don't worry. The award stuff will be back in however many months. Like 3 or 4. Yeah, Owen, do you want to do the other stuff that I haven't mentioned?
Follow the channel if you'd like at Popcast Network. Follow me at Sir Owen Disney. Follow Ashley at Ash is my name UK. And like we talked about before, we all talked about the algorithm. Yes, love to the reptiles, exactly. So yeah, go watch a movie, whether you are in a theater or streaming. And while you're streaming, obviously, like it needs more help because it doesn't, but do it because it's good music. Stream intellectual property. Stream the Torture Poets Department, whether the regular version or the anthology. And don't forget, we've got the Era Store starting up again in Paris in a couple days. So let's manifest Owen finally getting to go this year, please. I need this to happen. That being said, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And next time you get a chance to, thank your friends, thank your family for being in your life, because you never know when they may not be there any longer. So never live with regret. And until next time, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.